Charlie Williams, a boy of only 7 years old, went through a terrible accident with his mother, Anne. She succumbed to her injuries, leaving Charlie completely alone. The tragedy occurred on a rainy night when they needed to return home. "Come on, honey, I left your favorite food in the oven. We'll eat together when we arrive," Anne said as she placed Charlie in the safety seat. This routine happened practically every day, and Charlie always slept on the way home. They lived in the small town of Milton, but Anne worked in London, where the company's headquarters were located. As she spent most of the day in London, Anne decided to enroll Charlie in a school close to her office, to be close to her son in any emergency. With no other members in the family, one was very attached to the other. The walks home were always quiet, but that night the rain was heavier than usual. Charlie was startled by the noise of the passing cargo trucks, but it seemed that everything was under control. Unfortunately, this has been proven wrong. Anne drove attentively while Charlie had fallen asleep in the back seat. It was then that a truck tried to overtake at high speed and ended up hitting the side of Anne's car. The vehicle was thrown off the road, spinning on the road and overturning. Anne, still dizzy and frightened by what had happened, looked back looking for her son, but the seat belt and the position of the car did not allow her to see him. "Calm down, son, it's over. We are fine," she said. Charlie was calmer when he heard his mother and confirmed that he was fine in his safety seat. He wanted to cry, but he was too scared to even let the tears fall. It took about 30 minutes for help to arrive. The truck driver, responsible for the accident, was the one who called for help. He explained that he was trying to get home for his young daughter's birthday and had his eyesight impaired by the rain. Be that as it may, the man missed his daughter's birthday, as he was taken to the police station while Anne and Charlie went by ambulance to a hospital in the region. It wasn't until doctors began analyzing mother and son that they realized that all was not well. The doctors examined Charlie and, surprisingly, found no cause for concern. Anne was in serious condition. Perhaps the concern for her son and the adrenaline of the moment masked her problem, as they found a severe internal bleeding and the woman had to undergo emergency surgery. Charlie felt lost with all those doctors running around his mother. "Boy, how about eating something?" said a doctor, taking the boy away. His name was Jack, a newly graduated resident. When he asked about Charlie's father, the boy said he had never met him and didn't even know who he was. The little one ate a sandwich and a scoop of ice cream, but as soon as he had the opportunity, he asked the doctor, "Young man, is mommy going to be okay?" The resident, with no experience in dealing with this type of situation, found himself without an answer. What he had learned in college was never to promise what he could not guarantee. "Boy, I'm sure my classmates are doing everything for your mother. Don't worry, okay? Soon you'll be back home," Jack said. He stayed by the boy's side until he fell asleep, after resisting a lot. Then, one of the doctors appeared and said that Anne, still in the operating room, was conscious and wanted to see her son. Jack woke Charlie up and took him to his mother. Anne, lying on the bed, asked him to come closer. "Promise that you will always be an honest and careful young man with other people, just as you were with me. And most of all, be strong, because your life is about to change," she said. "Lastly, my dear Charlie, know that I love you and will always take care of you." Tears streamed down Anne's face as she hugged her son for the last time. Anne passed away that night, leaving Charlie to face the world completely alone, without a father and without family. Social services were called and Charlie had to go to an orphanage. The boy resisted a lot at first. It was difficult to accept that until recently he had a home, a mother who loved him more than anything in the world and a stable routine. Now, none of that existed anymore. The funeral was simple and modest, with only Jack and a few of Anne's co-workers present. The boy said goodbye to his mother and made a tearful promise, "I will always visit you, Mom. I will never forget your last words and who you were to me." The first nights at the orphanage were not easy. His last peaceful sleep had been inside the car as he drove home, and then he woke up to the car upside down and his mother screaming his name. The memories seemed to come more intensely during the night. When he finally got to sleep, Charlie dreamed that and would walk through the door of the orphanage to pick him up. When I woke up, I was still enveloped in the feeling that this dream provided. He spent hours thinking about it, becoming more and more alone, because he didn't interact much with the other children. As he was the newcomer, the children made fun of him. "Are you thinking about your mother's ghost again? I think you'd better stop being fresh and accept that she died and won't come back. No one will want to adopt a crybaby like you." The orphanage staff didn't seem to care about it and let things go their natural way. Some mornings, they would take all the children to a park in the area, with some toys and opportunities for the newly arrived and the old children to play together. But the practice didn't work with Charlie. When he realized that the park was close to the cemetery where his mother was buried, he moved away from the group and ran to fulfill his promise to always visit her. While everyone was distracted, he took advantage of the opportunity. When he got close to the grave, Charlie sat down and began to tell how his life was going now that she was no longer around. It was amazing how he spoke more in just 10 minutes than in all the weeks he had spent in the orphanage. For the boy, it was as if she was really there. Charlie could even imagine what she would say and the way she would laugh when he told something funny. "Mom, how I miss you," he thought all the time, as if it were a mantra. Charlie continued to visit his mother's grave whenever he could. He told how he suffered in the orphanage, how cruel the children were and the staff did nothing to help him. "I have nothing else here. I don't have anyone and I don't even feel as joyful as I felt with you, Mom," Charlie said, raising his voice in anger and crying. "I wanted to disappear from this world, not exist anymore. I don't want to live without you anymore. Take me with you, take me," he shouted. Suddenly, a hand touched his shoulder and began to caress him as if to comfort him. Charlie felt a warmth in his chest and seemed to be dreaming, but it was too real. He turned quickly and came face to face with a woman with a charming smile. "Are you okay?" "I realized I was crying and decided to see if you needed anything," said the mysterious woman. Charlie tried to wipe away his tears and struggled to say everything that was stuck in his throat, but he couldn't. "Look, I understand that it's difficult, but I see that you don't want to be alone either. What if I sit next to you and we stay together," she said, trying to console the boy in some way. Charlie nodded. The woman said her name was Kate and that she was there visiting the grave of her son, who had passed away a few years ago and was a little older than Charlie. The boy then disarmed himself and was finally able to communicate, telling that his mother had recently passed away and that he was there to visit her, but that he had actually run away from the tour with the orphanage to be there. They talked for a while longer, until Kate offered to take him back to the orphanage. Charlie didn't know the exact address, but he remembered the streets he walked to get there. As they returned, they passed in front of a park and saw a carousel. Kate noticed how fascinated Charlie seemed with the toy and encouraged him to get on one of the horses. The carousel started to spin and the boy smiled for the first time in weeks. Looking around, he noticed several lights and decorations indicating that it was already Christmas time. When Charlie got off the ride, he ended up stepping on something bulky. When he looked at the ground, he saw a leather wallet. There weren't many people in the park at that moment, so he bent down to pick it up in disguise, looking around trying to see if anyone could own the item. When he opened his wallet, Charlie was in shock. He had never seen so much money in his life, with several 100-pound notes, some crumpled. That was enough money for him to escape from the orphanage once and for all. Charlie returned to Kate, but said nothing about what he had found. He wondered how a man could have dropped all that money and not come back to look for it. However, on the way out of the park, Charlie and Kate passed a security guard and the boy felt a shock run through his body. He remembered the promise he had made to his mother while she was on her deathbed, to be honest and careful with other people. Asking only Kate to wait a while, Charlie pulled his wallet out of his pocket and handed it to the security guard, saying that someone had lost it near the carousel. "Oh my! I'm glad you found Mr. Watson's wallet, kid. He is one of the oldest employees in our park and was heartbroken that he had lost his entire year-end salary. You just saved his family's Christmas, little boy," said the security guard, smiling. He turned to Kate and added, "Congratulations on your son, miss. You should be very proud of him." That last comment left Kate and Charlie silent. When they finally arrived at the orphanage, they believed that they would find everyone worried about the boy's disappearance. However, the employees were surprised to see him return. It was as if they hadn't even realized that he hadn't returned with the rest of the group. The other children noticed the discomfort generated in the environment and began to laugh. See? No one missed the crybaby. Better run to your bed again, after all that's what you came back to, isn't it? Kate was astonished by the employee's omission. Charlie was completely embarrassed and hurt. The woman left with a heavy heart and decided to enter a church not far away. She prayed that Charlie would find a family that truly loved him. In the following days, Kate was unable to get any restful night's sleep. During the early hours of the morning, she dreamed of her deceased son, the one she had gone to visit on the afternoon she met Charlie. It had been a few years since she had dreamed of the boy, and so she was shaken. Not being able to go back to sleep, she got up to get a glass of water and remembered the last memory with her son. The two were on a beach, as they did almost every weekend, but she got distracted for a few seconds while applying sunscreen, and he went into the sea alone. When she realized that the boy was not on the bank, her heart froze. Hours later, the boy was found at sea by the rescue team, unfortunately lifeless. In the dream, the boy appeared in a house and kept repeating the phrase, "Mom, take me with you, please," while delivering a note with an address. Drinking water in the kitchen, Kate remembered the address and wrote it down on a piece of paper so she wouldn't forget. The next morning, even though she thought it was just a dream, she told her husband what was happening, from the day she met Charlie to the strange dreams about her deceased son. "My love, I don't understand any of these things, but if our son is trying to say something, I think you should listen," the man said. Kate took the address written down and checked on her cell phone if it really existed. To his amazement, the address was real and led to a home for orphan children, the same one Charlie was living in. Her husband was confused, thinking it was too much of a coincidence, but Kate revealed that she had connected with that child in the cemetery. "I felt good with him that day. I felt that he needed me, but that I also needed him. We kept each other company. He's an honest boy, and for the first time in a long time, I felt whole again," she said. Her husband hugged her and announced that they would go to the orphanage at that very moment. The couple was received by one of the employees, who said that visiting hours had ended and that appointments needed to be made in advance by phone. The man explained the situation, trying to get the employee to make an exception, but he seemed adamant. It was then that the husband remembered what Kate had told him about how they ignored the children's feelings. Offering two 50-pound bills, the clerk accepted without asking anything further and opened the door for the couple. "My boss is not here, so enjoy," he said with a smile. Upon entering the room, Kate recognized Charlie in a matter of seconds. He was on the couch, alone, while other children played. As soon as Charlie saw Kate, he ran towards her and hugged her. The husband took advantage of the moment and began to ask the boy some questions. "Hey, tell me, what was a kid like you doing in the cemetery at that time?" he asked. Charlie, now more at ease, replied looking down, "I was talking to my mother, sir. I was asking her to take me from here to far away." That shocked the couple. How could someone so young say something like that? Kate and her husband exchanged glances, afraid of what they were about to suggest to each other. Obviously, they felt like adopting Charlie and taking him home right away, but the situation wasn't that simple. Kate did not want to show that she was replacing her son in any way, but perhaps her dream had been a kind of authorization to allow herself to love another child in her home. After all, since her son passed away, her life has never been the same and nothing and no one seemed able to erase it. After a lot of conversation at home and a plan drawn up to go through the complicated adoption process, the couple decided it was time to move on and, most importantly, give a home to those who needed it so much. They spent months trying to meet all the requirements necessary to adopt Charlie and visited him almost daily during this time, ensuring that he was being treated well. After what seemed like an eternity, the day finally arrived and Charlie saw Kate and her husband at the reception of the orphanage, waiting with tears in their eyes. Kate opened her arms and Charlie ran to her. The hug they gave even touched the employees of the institution and some of the children who mocked Charlie. The days following Charlie's adoption were one of adaptation and discovery for everyone. Kate and her husband, Tom, were dedicated to providing the boy with a warm and loving environment. Charlie, for his part, was delighted with his new home, but still struggled with the ghosts of the past. Every corner of the house held something new, from the toys that belonged to Kate's deceased son to the smells and tastes of Tom's kitchen, who loved to cook. One night, while Kate was reading a story to Charlie in bed, he turned to her and asked, "Do you think my mom is happy that I'm here with you?" The question took Kate by surprise, but she replied fondly, "I'm sure she's very happy, Charlie. Your mom wants the best for you, and so do we." The next day, Kate decided it was time to take Charlie to a special place. They went to the park where the carousel they had visited earlier was located. Kate had a surprise prepared, a leather bracelet with a pendant engraved on the names of Charlie and her deceased son. "I want you to have this, Charlie. That way, you will always remember that you have a family that loves you very much and that you will never be alone," she said, emotionally. While Charlie admired the bracelet, they noticed a man approaching. It was Mr. Watson, the park employee who had lost his wallet. "Hello, young man. I was hoping to meet you again. Since that day you returned my wallet, my life has changed. You saved my family's Christmas, and I could never thank you properly," the man said, with a sincere smile. He handed Charlie a golden ticket. "This is a lifetime pass for the carousel. You can come whenever you want, as many times as you want." Charlie's eyes sparkled with joy. He felt special, loved, and for the first time in a long time, he had hope for the future. Kate and Tom realized that this small gesture of gratitude had made a huge difference in Charlie's life, and they felt even more determined to provide him with a happy childhood. The months passed, and Charlie adapted more and more to his new life. He started attending the local school and made new friends. Kate and Tom actively participated in his education and activities, always encouraging him to explore his interests and talents. Charlie demonstrated a knack for music, and Tom, who had an old guitar in storage, began teaching him how to play. On an autumn day, Charlie's school hosted a musical performance, and he was asked to play a song on the guitar. Kate and Tom were in the audience, proud and emotional. When Charlie took the stage, he looked at them and smiled. He played with passion and skill, drawing enthusiastic applause from the audience. In that moment, Charlie felt that he had found his place in the world. After the performance, Kate and Tom hugged him and congratulated him. "We are very proud of you, Charlie. You're an amazing kid," Tom said, his eyes shining with excitement. Kate added, "You brought joy and love to our lives. We are very happy to have him as our son." Charlie smiled, finally feeling at peace. He knew that his mother, wherever he was, would be proud of him. And he knew that with Kate and Tom by his side, he would never be alone again. The bracelet on his wrist was a constant reminder that he was loved and that he had found a family that valued him. And so, with his heart full of hope and love, Charlie began to write a new chapter in his life, full of dreams and possibilities.